Welcome back to E3. You wanted it, you asked for it, you got it. This is a special live edition of G4TV.com's feedback, and it starts right now. A special E3 edition of G4TV.com's Feedback. I'm Adam Setzler, and if you're new to Feedback, here's a primer. This is a TV version of our weekly podcast, which can be seen every Wednesday afternoon at G4TV.com/feedback. We discuss games, the latest news, answer your questions, make very obscure references, and Patrick and I fight about Lost all the time. Today, we're going to look at all the E3 news and what went down at the Big Three press conference, specifically Zelda and all of Nintendo's huge announcements. There's the 3DS, Donkey Kong, Kirby, and a whole lot more. Plus, we're going to talk Sony's Move, the new Twisted Metal, and Portal 2. And later, we'll discuss Microsoft's big push into motion control with Kinect and Bungie's reveal of the Halo Reach campaign. All right, I think we need to introduce our panel, and here to discuss the Big Three's press events are a few Feedback regulars. Joining me are X-Play Game Editorials, Abby Happy. And we have G4TV.com news editor Patrick Klepek, better known as Scoop. And finally, my wonderful co-host on X-Play, Morgan Webb.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, so let's start with Nintendo. The general public seems to be in agreement that they definitely, took the show of all the 5 major press conferences with everything they revealed. Are we all kind of in agreement with this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that their press conference was necessarily bad. Not being a Nintendo fangirl, and this is becoming more and more apparent to me as time goes on, and I am not excited about the games everybody else is excited about. If you're not a Nintendo fan, really, there's nothing there for you. Like, everyone's like, but Kid Icarus. I'm like,
It is heavily nostalgia-based, but
for
for someone that
is.
has that, and I did, every announcement was amazing.
And I think I'm in between, and I was still excited. And I was like rushing here because all I wanted to see was Zelda. And then I was a little late, and then I came in, and there were Retro and Donkey Kong, and I was thrilled.
Yeah. Well, let's start with what we, going into it, really thought was going to be the cornerstone, and I think it was a very large chunk, and that is the 3DS. This is their new handheld system that has 3D elements in it. Patrick, you were actually there. So
I was there, and I just played it about an hour ago, and it's the 3D. This is what I want from 3D, and I think the part that you always get angry talking about 3D is auto-stereoscopic. That's what you want, no glasses. 3D's cool, but you don't want the glasses experience, and this removes it, and it's awesome. It works, and Nintendo's nailed it out of the park.
A gimmick? So it's not a gimmick. Not a gimmick.
and so what are some of the games that you saw playable with the 3DS?
I saw Resident Evil, which wasn't playable. There was very little playable. Pilot Wings was the only game that I really got to get hands-on and play. And Pilot Wings is back. I thought it was going to come back a long time ago, but it's here on the 3DS. The 3D effect works really well in Nintendo's art style of having large, colorful, big environments, and it works really well on Pilot Wings. And I'm just glad Pilot Wings is back.
Now, one of the things that I noted was the amount of third-party support, where some of those more mature titles, you have, Metal Gear, Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed. Is that anything that might give you some interest in the 3DS, Morgan?
Not really. I always feel I feel a little bit disappointed when I'm playing these mature titles on Nintendo platforms. I feel like I could just get so much more if I were playing it on a different system. I am excited about the 3D capabilities. I'm a huge Golden Sun fan. I love the Mario and Luigi RPGs on the DS. So these are games that I'm really going to be looking forward to. So there's something for me.
Okay, Abby, I think I had the same reaction as you. Thought it would be all about Zelda, and then I suddenly see 2D platformers, both from Kirby and from Donkey Kong. I mean, that was where my nostalgia blew up.
Yeah, and the Kirby one looked absolutely incredible. The yarn and the charm in the graphics of that game sent me through the roof. And then hearing that Retro Studios is back working on another game, that it's a Donkey Kong game, that was probably the highlight for me.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Now, let's talk about that one big game. The big one.
All right,
Zelda, Legend of Zelda. Once again, I saw most of it on a tiny, tiny screen. You were racing over here. Patrick, you were there. This is very motion control. It was something that we have been slightly anxious about, how heavy they were going to go into Wii Motion Plus with it. Do you think it's too much, too little? What was your takeaway?
it seems like we haven't seen too much of the actual game. It seemed like today they just wanted to get out, this is what we're doing with the controls, this is what we mean by sort of reinventing Zelda. As far as to how it works, I mean, Miyamoto kind of got Steve Jobbed up on stage with the wireless.
Yes.
Because every impression I've gotten from anyone else is that it works great when you actually sit down and play and there's not an interference. I think it's cool how they're sort of telling you visually how to play Zelda. You got to slash it differently. And the one-to-one, it's not actually one-to-one. You're really just doing slash motions, but you can feel like you're waving the sword around. That's cool.
Now, the aesthetics of the game. This has been an issue for you with some other Nintendo titles, Morgan.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, it was not
No,
as cartoony as Wind Waker.
And the thing is, like, I loved Wind Waker.
Me too.
I know, I did too.
There was something about, there was an intelligence to the graphics and the spirals of everything, and you felt like you were in this world. When they try to make it more realistic, kind of. I'm a Nintendo hater today, aren't I? I'm sorry.
No.
I'm with you on the Wind Waker thing.
Yeah, Wind Waker was awesome. You know, I was not as into the first Zelda on Wii.
Now, Abby, just so everyone knows, you wrote the strategy guide for Twilight Princess, so you are deeply
did write
enmeshed.
one.
Yes, you're
Not
deeply
like
enmeshed
me,
in this.
not, you know.
What are some of the things that you are intrigued by or would like to know more about in terms of the Zelda game?
Well, I've played like every single one past Twilight Princess, and then the ones on the DS, and I'm really interested to see how they kind of expand the world of Zelda and don't make it something that I've already played before. I'm always looking to the new, other stuff that they talked about today, the whip, and I'm so sad that I missed all of that. Really.
And the weird thing that flies into the sky, I'm not sure what that's called.
Plus, Minna was such a great character in Twilight Princess, and I would just love to see how they flesh out that world and really create these kind of engaging, awesome, and just really colorful characters.
Yes, I was far more worried, and I was relieved with what I saw. My only concern is, given the amount of motion control, how long I can play in a given session before that. That kind of exhaustion of paying that much attention.
Tell you to take a break.
Yeah, it's going to tell you
the game will tell you to take a break.
You've been playing for half an hour. Aren't you tired by now?
Oh, that's right. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like,
Feel
Bad about yourself.
It's like when I get tired with motion control, I'm like, I play worse than what I do with a traditional game. So I need to set aside like morning hours.
Well, hopefully they'll make it so you can kind of lay down and just do it subtly, like a lot of the different Wii games that they do.
All right, guys. Well, that was our discussion about everything in Nintendo, but we've got more feedback on the way. Yes, we do.
Plenty more.
Our E3 special continues with a look at Sony's reveals of the new Twisted Metal, the amazing Portal 2 announcement, and of course, the PlayStation Move. Plus, we're going to be talking Microsoft's big announcements, Kinect, Halo Reach campaign gameplay, and more. We'll be right back. Welcome back to a special E3 edition of G4TV.com's feedback. I was kind of thinking when we're coming in from the break, I want that Charlie Rose jazz thing, to say it's late night, we're talking games. All right, we just talked Nintendo's announcements, but now let's move on to the other press conference today, and that was Sony. Jesse B83 on Twitter said, Sony once again had a great conference, time for PS3 to take over. I know there were some other people that were not as fond of the Sony press conference, but maybe not until the end when some big surprises happened. One which really took me off guard, Abby. Your favorite developer, Valve, who said they would never, ever go on the PS3.
Brought Gabe Newell out and had him talk about how Portal 2 is going to be on PS3, but also that they're going to have Steamworks, and so it looks like they'll be able to do their title updates by themselves without, going through
this
previously.
This does not mean
Xbox.
that Steam,
no,
the full
no,
Steam catalog is available
no.
on the PS3.
I was just incredibly surprised. And the game looks amazing, but really?
Yeah.
I like how they came out knowing that they had to say, like, we may have said some things in the past. And we
They should have put his quotes up on there behind him.
God, that would have been great.
I mean, Gabe Newell was unrelenting in his contempt.
But
I mean, that was quite an about-face.
I feel like they really might have done that purely because of that Steamworks option of having them being able to do their own title updates. I mean, that's a
like
great sell.
all the concessions
Let us control
EA.
our product.
Yeah, when Microsoft conceded EA and with the original Xbox. Morgan, PlayStation Move. Is this competitive? Can they position it in the market correctly?
Well, they have a lot of price points right now, so it's it's sort of confusing. Like you buy the set and the game, and then the nunchucks an extra $30. So it depends. It's going to be a very different price, point of entry for a lot of different people. It is actually relatively comparably priced to, for example, the Nintendo nunchuck. So it just is going to depend on if the consumers embrace it. I think they are very resistant to the look of the device.
Yeah.
They do not like that colored glowing ball on top. But they have accepted it from Nintendo. I don't necessarily anticipate this being a system seller.
But at the very least, they aren't defining themselves on it, which I think is going to give them some wiggle room.
That's what I sort of mean by it's not a system seller. They say, like, hey, you already have a PS3. It's already a Blu-ray player. Maybe you bought it as a Blu-ray player. Your dad, grandma, sister, such and such might like this as an add-on. And in that price point, it's not bad. If you buy the system and, and everything, the Move, everything together, you're talking about a lot of money.
As a hardcore gamer, it means I then have to share with other people in the household.
Right, it's just you that doesn't share.
No,
Patrick,
never mind.
the tone of Sony's conference was very aggressive. They were taking pot shots left and right at Microsoft and even a little bit at Nintendo. What was your takeaway? I mean, is this kind of a new Sony?
I mean, we saw that from Sony, but we even saw that at the Nintendo conference. Reggie, took no qualms in dissing the glasses thing just before everyone was leaving to go to the Sony conference, largely in 3D.
Where they handed you glasses right at the beginning, right?
Yeah, at the end of Nintendo's, they're like, no glasses, no glasses. We looked into it, and it's stupid, essentially was their takeaway. And so I think, I like it when the companies sort of go at each other.
I think we in the press like this. It's
I loved, Sega does what Nintendo don't. I love that stuff, so I encourage them.
It's nice to see the company sort of acknowledging the other's existence,
exist.
and it's not like they're, making all these decisions in a vacuum. They're looking at what their competitors are doing.
They got some laughs.
Okay,
and they got some laughs.
The other big reveal was Twisted Metal, a game that Jaffe himself had been outwardly denying was in existence or even being made. No, it was. They're showing it. It's coming out next year. Patrick, is this the right direction? I mean, we haven't seen the game since really like the beginning of the PS2.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what the right direction even would be because it's just been gone for so long, and vehicular combat isn't really a genre anymore. So Twisted Metal kind of is in a unique space where it can kind of come in and redefine what it is. I think adding the aerial element is really, really cool. So just the idea that you're sort of, and I think some of the vehicles you can sort of boost and jump over objects. It just, one of the things about Twisted Metal is that you'd constantly find yourself going in circles trying to hit an enemy and not being able to do it. So adding abilities to lean out and snipe people, they're doing a lot of really smart things to sort of take vehicular combat to the next level.
Now, Morgan, we seem to get these sporadic flare-ups, like a disease, of Twisted Metal throughout the times. I mean, is this a franchise that really does have that kind of hold on the collective gamer's imagination?
Well, I think one thing that it does have is sort of a brand recognition. People go into the store and they say, Twisted Metal, I've heard of that. I may not even remember why or where, but I've heard of that, and that's going to make them go ahead and pick that up. I think it looks great. I think it looks like a lot of fun. It's something that I'm personally looking forward to. I think it's one of those things that's going to sell pretty well.
And it's got the right attitude.
It's
got that kind of thing that, I like it.
It's not taking itself too seriously.
Now, Abby, multiplayer queen that you are.
Obviously,
since we saw Twisted Metal before, what we expected out of multiplayer was far more limited. Team deathmatch,
what we saw today with kidnapping basically the other faction's guy and then waiting, keeping him in the area, then hitting him with the rocket launcher, and then sending the rockets into the Senate. Yeah, I don't know where you go from there. That was kind of exciting.
But it's a good thing that they didn't think that they could just do the more basic elements. They have to be on par with Team Fortress. They have to be on par.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I don't, vehicular stuff is not usually my forte, but I was looking at going I'm playing that.
All right, that's great. Now, guys, have you ever wanted to have an intelligent conversation about video games? Well, you can. Just watch feedback on G4TV.com and yell at your computer screen. Every week, I round up G4's gaming experts for in-depth discussions about the latest headlines, new releases, and the industry's biggest controversies. New episodes of Feedback debut every Wednesday afternoon, only on G4TV.com/feedback. Stick around. There's more feedback on the way after the break. We're going to round out our discussion of the Big Three with the last piece of the puzzle, Microsoft. We'll talk Kinect, Halo Reach, and more right after this. Welcome back to a special E3 edition of G4TV.com's Feedback. It's like Washington Week in Review about games. Let's move on to the final member of the Big Three and talk about what happened at the Microsoft press conference. Kinect. Now, granted, they had two events. One which involved ponchos that, yes, Sony was pointing out and a lot of people have been talking about, where they just kind of introduced the, but Kinect was really shown at the Microsoft press conference. And I, for one, was left kind of scratching my head.
I think we were kind of hoping that they were going to get the Natal stuff or the Kinect stuff kind of out of their system at the Cirque du Soleil conference, and then during the actual press conference, they were going to talk about grown-up games. but that didn't happen. So we were a little disappointed. We saw some yoga. We saw some creepy animals. We saw a lot of people in hoodies.
I mean, Abby, who is it targeted at? We have Star Wars up here on screen, but that seems almost to be kind of a gimme, because nothing else was like that.
Well, of course, all we had been saying about what we wanted in a motion control Star Wars was that we would actually, kind of have a lightsaber. And
the physical plastic
and
thing in my hand.
Now you've given me the motion control Star Wars game, and you've taken away my lightsaber, which means I'll just take one of mine from home and have it in front of the TV in front of Kinect.
I mean,
it's dangerous.
Patrick, given
which clearly won't break anything.
Assuming someone doesn't have a 360, you're talking about a very, very steep entry fee to get to Kinect for that casual gamer. That's where I'm sort of confused is, who are they necessarily aiming it at? I don't think it could be successful. It's just a Trojan horse with a 360.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we don't have a price point yet. I think E3 is going to be their gauging how they do the price point going forward. They might have a price point they wanted, and then E3 kind of shifts that. I've been really interested to see, I think the sort of casual consumer may be more interested in sort of the voice recognition and sort of these sort of futuristic features that
we're
Kinect
able,
allows
for
to.
example, like selecting your movie by holding your hand
we
up.
may not want to do that,
the-
but that is
yeah.
cool. Like, that will demo well, like, on the Today Show or something like that. Or just, I want to be able to say, which song in Rock Band I want to select to. Stuff like that, I think could be really cool. So that side of it, the games haven't really appealed to me too much, but the tech side, I think, could be neat.
You told me you wanted a tiger.
Well, didn't want to share it on feedback.
Yeah, also, kids, don't name your tiger Skittles. That's how they maul you when they grow up. They're like, you named me Skittles. It's just, it's a tip for all of you.
Do you talk
junior
to tigers?
Yes, late at night when I'm scared. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, let's just kind of like high up. Like, where's your temperature on Kinect?
I think it's really going to depend on the price. What do you, $50? That would be, I feel like
they
people
go-
would be
if they-
very
yeah, if
open
they
to
go,
it
we
for
want it,
$50.
yeah.
I think much more than $50 is going to be a hard sell, partly because it's hard to necessarily write on the box exactly what it does for the mom in the store being like, this is $80 and I get not really clear 100%.
Yeah, because it's not like you're going to be going to the store and buying Kinect. You're going to be buying an Xbox that might have a Kinect logo. I think they're going to have some, they want to transition from pure Xbox to this Kinect, but having those two messaging, that's going to be tough for marketing to try and balance between.
Branding and branding.
I see a lot of bundles coming out. I think.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a big boy game, Gears of War 3. I think all of us were fans of the first. Some of us, felt a little disappointed in 2, some didn't. From what we've seen of 3, I mean, Abby, what do you think?
I'm stoked. I'm actually really excited about 4-player co-op. It's nice. I like being able to bring my friends into gaming. I like sitting and having a conversation while we, chainsaw people. I thought that was really impressive. And, again, you never know how great a game is until you played it yourself, but everything I've seen of it so far looked fantastic. So.
I mean, the one thing that, when you and I were watching it, Morgan, is that clearly the area that they showed in that demo can fit for people and have some dynamic gameplay.
Absolutely, and you're actually going to be able to talk to each other and put a little bit more strategy into it. I mean, Gears traditionally hasn't been, strategy-based, which is fine. It's shooter and chainsaw-based, okay. But we can maybe add a little bit more strategy, add a little bit more level of difficulty and interest in the game.
Now, Patrick, I don't know about you, but I have this thing for monsters. I love monsters. I love monster design. Mm-hmm. I was seeing art direction in just this small demo of Gears 3 that seemed to be a really big leap from what we saw in Gears 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Locust design, but I've really enjoyed the Gears games. I like some of the large enemies, sort of the base enemies I've been a fan of, but the new enemies really show...
The Lambent, I believe.
Lambent, I think that's how you say it.
The corrupted Locust.
Yeah, they seem to have a really dynamic element to them, like they can change the environment more so than Locust have. So I think that could really change it in a new direction, and it seems really exciting.
Now, in terms of multiplayer, Abby, once again, multiplayer queen, what do you... I mean, I think that you got frustrated with some stuff that happened in Gears 2 multiplayer. What do you want for Gears 3?
I'm not 100% sure, because what I liked actually was kind of the simplicity of the multiplayer in the first one, and it was almost like too much for me when the second one... I mean, that sounds weird. You always want more and more out of your games, but I actually... I enjoyed what they did, but I think like any multiplayer game, you want great maps. You want to shoot people with guys as long as it works and it's balanced and there's good spawning. Then you have the recipe for a good multiplayer game. And frankly, I loved what they did in the first one, so I really hope I love this one just as much.
All right, it's going to round out the trilogy. Any sense once it's done, Patrick? Do you think that we're going to see more unique products from Microsoft coming from Epic?
Gears of War is not anywhere near finish. You know,
Yeah, you're probably
even
right.
in the announcement release, they made sure to say, you know, this is the end of the trilogy. This is not the end of Gears
End
of
of the
War.
game,
Right.
because everybody likes money. All right, everyone. Now remember, you can see new episodes of Feedback every Wednesday afternoon at g4tv.com/feedback. I want to give a big thanks to Morgan, Abby, and Patrick for coming by. We have had a long day, and they stuck around all for you. G4's E3 2010 live coverage continues tomorrow night at 6 p.m. with exclusive demos of Rage, which you have to see to believe, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Gran Turismo 5, and so much more. And at 9:30, we're going to bring you another episode of what you saw here today, the glorious G4TV.com's Feedback. And on Thursday at 6 p.m., we're going to have even more hands-on demos, live from the floor. Go to G4TV.com/E3 for details and our full schedule. Guys, once again, thank you so much. Wait for your adoring fans. Like I said, you guys asked for it on TV, you got it. Since it's Feedback, let us know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. My day is over.